right. Wait for some people to show up. It's Saturday morning, 7 a.m. where I'm at. Excuse the bedhead, because I did just get up shortly before. I shouldn't say just got up. Just got out of up and around, but I haven't done much grooming yet. So we'll give it a few. While we're waiting, I'll tell you a little bit about what I'm thinking about talking about and who I am. So my name's Nate Peo, and if you're watching this, you're wondering, hey, who's this guy in Amanda's group? I've known Amanda for a really long time now. I kind of met her right before COVID went down. I was starting a podcast, and I was looking around for people who podcasted. And I came across this group called Unconventional Leaders, and it was I really just searched for like people who are podcasting and kind of new at it. I was looking for people that had just kind of started, had a little bit of success, but weren't like huge mainstream like Joe Rogan, like just figuring out what they did. I came across Heather Parody's website, which took me to the Facebook group Unconventional Leaders. And the Unconventional Leader Facebook group was this pretty engaged community. And I think a lot of people in that group had found each other through Lewis Howes School of Greatness. I think they had all met up at like a School of Greatness, what do they call it? Summit of Greatness, I think is what it's called. Or it's like a yearly event, and a lot of people had met there, knew each other, and from there the group had grown, and other people like myself had found it. Amanda was one of the people that was in it too, and like I was posting on social media, and if you know Amanda, she's contrary to how she portrays herself, she's a very kind, very loving person, very warm and welcoming, and she, I think, started engaging some of my content. We kind of like back and forth, and just kind of like, who's this person that I don't know that keeps seeing around on my feed, keeps seeing around on Facebook. And so we reached out, and I just was chatting with her. She had a really interesting story. Hey, Mandy, if you have any questions, just drop them in the comments, say hello, maybe tell me who you are, where you're from. I'm just kind of going through a little backstory of myself and how I met Amanda through the Unconventional Leaders Facebook group. Anyways, she came on my podcast, which I think she was like one of the first 10 guests. And the podcast was, I was just trying to start it out, trying to figure out what I was going to do. And she had a really cool story. And from there, we became friends, and we've kind of like up and down, grown apart, come closer. Not like grown apart, but just like diverged in how our interactions happened. And then they came back to being more. And so we've kind of seen each other's growth over the last 5 years. We've seen where we've matured as adults, where we've grown as business leaders, where we've grown as humans, and that's is kind of the backstory of how I met her and what I'm doing in this group. And the topic I'm probably going to talk the most about today is how to build a network, how to build a community, how to build positive relationships with people, whether it is in person or online. I think the strategies, I think the intent that people should use to go about it are the same. It's just a matter of kind of meeting people where they're at in their space. It's a little different to be as intimate in a social media setting as it is in an individual group. But sometimes going out to network in person can be daunting because it's intimidating to go meet people you've never met. So it's easier sometimes to just hide behind social media because it's okay to reach out to strangers, and because there's not a lot of perceived risk. So anyways, when I started my podcast, the podcast premise was called the All In Pod. It's called the All In Podcast with Nate Peo, which was this premise of like what would happen to your life if you just went all in on the things that you were most scared to do, the things that you knew were going to take you as close to your ultimate goals as possible. You just kind of like put it all in. But it stemmed from this idea that if you were creating a network with intention and you deliberately did it over time, knowing that positive things were going to become of it, even though you didn't know what they were going to be, but if you just trusted the process and did them anyways, what would happen? I'm going to back that story up a little bit more of like, why would you even care to start networking? Why would you care to build positive relationships with other people? And the truth of the matter is, if you have big goals and dreams, whether it is you want to level up in your career, whether you want to build a business, whether you want to be a good parent and good leader for your kids, just wherever your goals take you, big or small, at some point, in order to take them to that next level, you're going to be challenged to do something that you don't have the answers to do, that you don't have the resources to do, and you don't have the background knowledge to do, and you're going to need to seek out help from other people. And it's not always apparent. It's not always apparent because a lot of us think like, hey, I can do it myself. I can figure this out, and I'll do it. And that's how I was. I had some success in my career, from the very first job I had out of college to going to, my title at the time was called purchasing manager or something like that. And I was at the top of my career that you could get to of being an individual contributor, meaning the amount of work that I do was really dependent on what I could personally do myself. I didn't really have direct teams that I managed, although looking back on it, I actually did have a lot of people I managed through subcontracts, but I didn't think of it that way at the time. So I got a new job, and it was as vice president. It was the first time I'd ever been a vice president, and I was soon tasked with doing things. Actually, I needed to go solve some problems that I didn't know the answers to. My bosses at the time, they're like, hey, we need you to understand some problems in our industry. And so it's kind of winding a lot of backstories. I work in the home building industry, and they wanted me to go find out what other home builders' costs of construction were so that they could understand how they're going to sell land to them. And I realized that I hadn't been networking much. I didn't know the people at the home builders, other companies that did purchasing, that I could go and ask them for this information. I didn't have any relationship with them. I was just like, it would be really awkward if I just called them up out of the blue and said, hey, can I get some answers? Just so you know, I don't know if there's chats on or not, so I can't see that stuff. So I'll just take your word for it if you have something. There's chats. Okay. So I started realizing I didn't know how to solve this problem by myself, and the people I needed to get the answers from, I didn't know. So I said, okay, the answer's pretty clear. I need to start networking in my industry. And there were groups that are specifically set up for networking with other purchasing professionals in the home building industry. So I started going to those events. And over like a year, over 2 years, I developed relationships with other people, my peers in the industry. I developed relationships with trade partners in my industry, and I started developing relationships with kind of people that weren't directly related to what I needed to do, but they're still in the industry. And it was just kind of like going along without intention. But I had a lot more tools at my disposal. I was able to do my job a little better. And I kind of became aware that that was uh, helping me be better at my job. So I started being more open to it. I started being more aggressive in finding opportunities to network more often. So there was national trade shows I started going to. There were these like industry events where you travel to a nice hotel in a nice city and you do like a speed dating round with other people. And at first, it felt like I was fucking around at work. Like I was like, oh, I'm gonna go spend 2 days in, Florida at a hotel, and I go to these meetings. They'd pay. They'd give us nice food. There'd be nice dinners at night, lots of cocktails. It was a big party. We'd have a grand old time, and just be, I don't know, having a lot of fun for 2 days. And you're thinking you're fucking around and not really contributing to the company. But about a year and a half later, all of a sudden, some of these relationships that we were building, because I did it with a coworker of mine, they started bearing fruit. All of a sudden, one of the builders that I was working with, they're like, hey, we want to cut this deal. And we worked on a deal and we ended up saving like $450,000. And you go, you know what? While at the time, here I am networking, here I am hanging out with people, here I am just going for drinks and going for dinners with people. It feels like I'm screwing around, and actually led to business relationships and saved lots of money. So then the ROI wasn't as apparent at the time, but it became apparent down the road. And you start looking at things, and this is that transition where I said, hey, if you're on to big goals, if you're on to doing amazing, crazy things, there's going to come a point in your life where you can't do it by yourself. You're going to need to enlist the help of other people. And if you don't have relationships with people that can help you, it's going to be harder to do it. And you can't wait until you're in need of these people to help you to make the ask. You need to start building that ahead of time. You need to start creating social capital with other people, that people want to help you when it comes down to it, when you need to ask. And you kind of do that through networking. And I'll talk about some other things that you do. So we started seeing these fruits, and I started saying, shit, every time I kind of put more effort into myself, into networking, into meeting and helping other people, it opened the door for more opportunities. More things started to work in my favor. Okay, so I've identified that networking is positive because I'm building relationships with other people that can come and help and support my objectives, my goals, my needs at work, or whatever. Build my business, build my career, whatever. Get shit done. But there's a method to building positive relationships. If I had gone out seeking self-serving activities right off the bat, I was just like meeting people like, hey, what can you do for me? It would not have developed the rapport I needed. Granted, I'm in purchasing, so the people I am meeting with have an inherent need to meet people like me. I am at an advantage because I am buying stuff that people are paid a lot of money to go out and sell to. So I don't have to try that hard for people to show up and want to go have coffee and lunch. So it's kind of beneficial. So a lot of times when people are in my position, they just have their hand out like, hey, what can you do for me? Where can you take me to dinner? What are the things that you can grease the wheels with me? And I thought, I want to be a little different than that. I don't want to be the person that's always taking. I want to be giving first. One of my core beliefs is give without expectations. And I was kind of coming into this at the time. So I was like, how can I give more? How can I be more serving to other people? So I started looking to help other people that I was meeting achieve their goals. So if I was meeting somebody that was trying to sell me something, but I couldn't buy it from them for whatever reason, maybe we already had a supplier for it, or maybe they just weren't set up to really support our needs as a business, I would make connections to them to people who would either introduce them to people that were positive for them to continue meeting, or other people that might need their work. And instead of having them take me to lunch, I'd take them to lunch. And these little small acts of kind of giving first started setting, hey Mandy, I don't know if I answered this for you, but I'm in the residential home building industry. So I work for a company that builds homes nationally, single family homes nationally for sale, but I've been in the residential construction space for 20 years, and most of it has been in apartment and multifamily work, and some of it has been in land development, but most recently for sale home building. So as we're networking, and you're giving, people are starting to see that you're a little different. People are starting to see that, like, hey, you're really trying to help other people first, and they dig that shit. And when you start kind of separating yourself as somebody that's a giver first and not a taker, people are more inclined to balance what you're doing. And this to me became more and more apparent, but it was still hard to do, because networking isn't easy. A lot of times we go, okay, I'm going to go to a networking event, networking event. So we go to a trade show. Maybe we go to a BNI coffee meeting. Maybe we go somewhere where there's people there for business when they're networking. We show up, we look around, we don't know anybody. So we're a little nervous. We don't know what to say, because what we're thinking of is, man, I'm at this networking event and I need to tell people what I do so that I can get the word out so that they can help me achieve my goals. That's what we kind of show up thinking about in our minds. That's what I would think about. It's what I have thought about when I go, like, so I'm nervous because I have to tell people what I do and how I can help them. And I might have to make an ask. Okay. So I'm nervous because those are hard things to do when we don't know people, and we might face rejection. So we go, we show up, we look around, we don't know anybody, we stand in the corner. We don't talk to anybody. And the longer we stand there as a wallflower, stand there in our thoughts, stand there in our minds, the more anxiety we get, and the more uncomfortable it becomes, and we just hate it. So we leave. We showed up that one time, and we left, and it gave us a bad feeling in our stomach. This is kind of like personal experience stories. Maybe you're a little different when you go to networking events, but this was me. So you don't go, and you go, fuck, those networking events, they don't really work. Those only work for people that are extroverted. Those only go for people that are like naturally good at sales. Those aren't for people who, like me, who are introverted and shy and quiet. That's what I thought. But because I had made a conscious decision to network intentionally, because I was starting to see the value of showing up at networking, how that could benefit me in the long run, I would keep going. And the more I kept going, the more I realized that everybody else was kind of in that same predicament. Some people, of course, are more outgoing, more engaging, and it feels a little bit natural to them. But most of the time, those people had already been involved in the group for a period of time. They had already started to make friends in the group. They had a level of comfort. People knew what they do. And the reason was not because they were better at it than anybody else. It's because they showed up. They showed up and they interacted. They showed up and got plugged in. They showed up and contributed to the group. And just like anything, if you show up enough times, people are going to start to recognize you. And if people start to recognize you, they say things like, hey, I see you here all the time, and I've never met you. My name is Nate. What do you do? And you tell them your name, you tell them what you do. They ask you questions, right? All of a sudden, you're kind of getting involved a little bit more. And it becomes a little bit easier. And the next time you show up, there's somebody you know. So you go talk to them a little bit, and they introduce you to somebody you know. And before you know it, you're part of the community. You're part of the group. And it's not so big and scary. And people know what you do. And then when they know what you do, and they need your help on something, they're okay with asking you. And you're okay with sharing your knowledge of how you can help people solve their problems. So this networking thing takes some time. It takes consistency. It takes showing up. But how can you speed that process up? Because it sucks. Well, you have within you the decision to be, I want to show up and wait for things to happen to me, or I want to show up and I want to make things happen to me. And there's a difference, because either way you're going, either way the time is going to pass. So you can choose to be passive towards it, or you can be proactive towards it. And proactive is scary because you have a comfort zone that you are going to have to get past. You're going to have to push past it and do the things you don't want to do anyways, no matter where you're at. You could be super extroverted, love networking, but there is something you are doing in that group that is at the limit of your comfort zone. And to take it to that next level, you're going to have to push it. So what I would do is I would say, okay, I know what's going to happen if I go and stand in the corner. I'm going to be waiting for somebody to come talk to me. I also know that somebody else is going to be doing the exact same thing, waiting for somebody to come talk to them. So instead of being the person that is waiting, I'm going to be the person that starts going and talking to people. So you go in and you look for the people that are just as nervous as you are. And I would walk up to them and I would ask them what they were doing, who they were, and what was kind of the opposite approach to what I was thinking I needed to do was show up, go up to people, tell them what I did, tell them how awesome I was, tell them how I could change their lives, and hopefully they would want to do something with me, right? But that was what I was thinking I needed to do. But that's not what I was doing. I was doing the opposite. I was going there and asking them what they did, what help they needed, getting them to talk about themselves. And here's the thing that makes networking, I'm going to back it up, not even networking, talking to people that you've never ever met before, strangers, complete strangers, sparking up conversations with people you haven't met. Like if you go to the gym and you're like, maybe you're a personal trainer, maybe you need to talk to potential clients, and you're like, how do I tell people I'm a trainer and I can help them? Well, if you just walk up and say, I'm a trainer and I can help you, at the gym, it's not so weird because people kind of know trainers are at the gym and they're looking for clients and they do that stuff. So it's not super awkward. But how do you do that at a networking event? How do you do that at Costco when you see somebody making, food purchase decisions and they're not sure and maybe they could help. So you go, how do I go up to strangers and start telling them about what I do? How do I get them to start talking to me about what I want to tell them about? And the thing is you don't go in there to get them to talk to you about you. You get them to talk about themselves, because here's a little secret. People love talking about themselves. People can't wait to talk about themselves. So if you want to build rapport with somebody, the fastest way to do it is to get them to talk about themselves. And the fastest way to do that is just ask them questions. But sometimes, like for me, you go like, well, what question do I ask? If I'm at a networking event, it's easy because you can say silly things like, how often do you come here? What brought you here today? What line of work are you in, right? Those are answers that are interesting enough to spark a conversation. And then because they will answer it, you can ask follow-up questions and dive a little deeper. So if you're just trying to get a conversation going, just keep asking more questions about what they're doing. Oh, first time here? Yeah, it's my first time here too. What did you decide to come? Oh, you wanted to grow your business. What business are you in? Oh, that's awesome. I know somebody that might need your help with that. Or like, who are people that you really like to work with a lot? And they'll tell you. And then you can also go like, oh, well, what other things are you interested in? What do you do on your weekends? What are the hobbies you're in? Oh, I golf, or, I fly kites. Oh, that's really cool, right? So we're getting them to talk. But here's one of my favorite hacks to initiating conversations. If you start becoming observant of people will do things that are important to them, that other people may or may not notice. So it's simple as maybe you're wearing your favorite pair of earrings. Maybe they're a little bit flashier than most. Maybe you got on brand new shoes that are bold, they're pink, right? Or maybe you have a nice watch on. There's usually something on somebody's person that is unique, that they put intention to picking out and putting on. Could be a hat, could be a sports team on their shirt that they're wearing. Easy way to spark up a conversation is just to make a comment on that. Like, oh, those are fantastic shoes. Like, I love how bright they are. And they just make a bold statement. Oh, thank you. I picked them out. I loved them because of XYZ. Started a conversation. So this thing about networking is when you're nervous and you're doing it, how do you go about doing it? Is just sit there and go, how can I spark up a conversation with nobody I know and get them to talk about themselves for a few minutes? It doesn't have to be a lot. I think a lot of people, when they show up at networking events, or feel like they're going to speak to somebody they've never met before with the intention of maybe one day doing business together, is that they have to seal a deal right now, or they have to get into an hour-long conversation, or they have to get into a pitch, or they have to get to a resolution at that moment. And the reality is you don't. The reality is you should just go there with the intention of, can I have 2 unique conversations with somebody I've never met before that is more than, hi, I'm Nate, nice to meet you, see you around, right? A little bit of a back and forth. What do you do for a living? You do this. That's really cool. Who are the people you help? What do you do? So you have enough of a conversation. Could be a 30-second, could be a 5-minute conversation. Enough rapport that you say, I would like to know more about what you do. Would it be okay if we scheduled a 30-minute coffee, met up for a coffee, just kind of chatted more about what you do? Because I think I might know some people that could help what you're doing. And then they'll say, yeah, that would be great. You exchange information, you set it up. Maybe they say no. Maybe they say, you know what, I don't have time for that. That's okay too, because the more times you do this, the more repetitions you get, the more likely, not the more likely, it will happen. You will get better at doing it. It becomes more natural. It becomes a lot easier to do. And I know this because this is my story. I went from somebody with massive amounts of anxiety that I would literally dread going to things where I'd have to communicate with people that I've never met before about what it is I'm doing, and then go home with massive amounts of anxiety of either, hey, how I completely was an idiot, or B, how I did not take any advantage of the situation, right? So I'm just constantly living in anxiety. To somebody that says, fuck it, I'm going to do the shit I don't want to do. I'm going to go and put myself into positions that are uncomfortable, and I know all I have to do is have 2 conversations and I can go home. So if I do that in 5 minutes, I can go home. If I do that in 2 hours, I can go home. That's all I have to do. 2 conversations, 15-minute coffee down the road. Fast forward about 8 years where I'm at today, people ask me, you're so extroverted, aren't you? This conversation starting is easy for you. You're able to walk into meetings and rooms and just start communicating very quickly, very easily, and building rapport with other people. You must be gifted at it. And it's like, no, I am not. The only difference between me and somebody else is I intentionally chose to do this 8 years ago, 10 years ago, every single day until it became more natural. And because it became more natural, it became easier and easier to do. And then I started, this is tie back into networking, is like, because I become easier to do it, it's not as scary to do it, it becomes fun to do it, and I see the benefit of meeting new people. Now it becomes, what am I missing out on if I do not do this? What if this one time I go in this one place and here's the person that I need to meet that could change my life, or they know the person that I need to meet to change my life, and I don't do anything about it, right? It's a missed opportunity, and I'm so honed in on not missing opportunities that I look forward to these things. And all of a sudden, I'm meeting more and more people. I have more and more resources, more and more experts to solving other people's problems, that when any problem comes my way, if I can't solve it, which is most of the problems I can't solve myself, I 100% know people that can. People I can call for the answer. People I can connect to help somebody else out. People I can enlist in a team to work on a project to get shit done every single time. So when I'm faced with a challenge, my confidence of like, how am I going to get this done I don't worry about that at all. My confidence is, or where my mindset goes is, who do I need on this team to solve this problem? And we go from there. And we go with the intent of knowing, hey, whatever we need, as long as we're heading in the right direction, the right people, the right ideas, the right resources, they're going to come to us because we're going to know the people that can help us the most. So start networking all the time. Well, there's an unintended consequence that comes of intentionally networking. And it's the idea of becoming an influencer. And I'm going to say influencer in a different way than we hear about a lot. I think we hear the word influencer, we instantly think of social media influencers who are trying to do things, funny dances, or make content on the internet to like be an influencer. Like it's like a title. But an influencer is really somebody that is really good at influencing people to rally around a certain cause and accomplish big goals. You might call it a leader, you might call it a boss, you might call it a team builder. But I think the word influence, the reason why I like that is because you're getting people to buy in on the outcome, not because they're being forced to, not because they're being coerced into it, not because they're being misled, but because an influencer has a way of convincing people that they want to be a part of something bigger than themselves, that they want to be a part of a bigger mission and help and support more people than they thought possible. And they realize that making a difference is super, super important to them. So sometimes we might ask somebody like, hey, do you want to, let me use an example kind of related to my kids. So do you want to be the coach on the Little League baseball team? Yeah, I could do that, right? I've got a few hours during the week. I can coach Little League baseball, right? So it's like I'm doing something. It's positive, but my why is kind of like, yeah, I'm not super engaged in it. But if you said, hey, did you know that when kids have positive role models and coaches in their youth sports, it's not just about the skills that they learn in sports, but the lessons they learn in life. And the 10 most successful people in the world relate lessons that they learned from their high school baseball coach or their Little League baseball coach, kind of like set the stage and influence them to do bigger things going up. And would you want to be a part of changing the world by changing people's lives, by being a positive role model for them early in it, right? It's a little bit different than, can you be a Little League coach? Or do you want to get involved and help make a difference in the world? And that to me is influence, is like, yeah, I'm committed to this emotionally. So becoming an influencer takes a lot of communication skills. It's about getting people to listen to you, to be moved by what you have to say, not because you're like good at saying the right words in the right sequence, but because you truly care about people, you truly care about what they are trying to do, and you're really involved first in how you can help and support other people, whether or not you're getting anything back in return. So giving without expectation. The other one a core value I mentioned was making a difference. So networking, the way I told you about, where you're going out and you're trying to make it about the other person first so that you can find out what they can do, so you can find out how you can help them, teaches you this skill of empathy, teaches you the skill of active listening, teaches you the skill of connecting people to each other that can help them solve bigger problems. So you're creating this skill of influence through networking. And the communication skill of meeting people also starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So that's, to me, is how you start networking and the benefits it could take you. I've kind of gone on for half hour rambling about this topic. So if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. I want to make sure we address any questions you might have, so it's not just a one-sided conversation. I'm going to kind of stop this topic of networking right here because one, I'll have something more to come back another day and chat about. And if you like this, I can probably do a Saturday morning coffee at around this hour every other week, and it could be kind of a little fun, like check in, network, get to know other people. And I also highly encourage you, everybody that's in this group, even if you haven't met them before, look through the group, look through the members of the group, and just say like, hey, I'm in the same group as you. How do you know the people in the group, or what brought you here? What is something that you can initiate a conversation with somebody you never met before in this group? That's an idea. Homework is to do that, to go into the group, find somebody in the group, and reach out to them, so that you can find out what they're doing. And then after you find that piece of information out, think about who you might know that could help them become a little connected. Maybe there's a piece of information you know. So it can be easy the first time, because if you haven't done this a lot, your resources for solutions is probably going to be limited. But if you do this continually, I guarantee you're going to meet people in the future that have the answers that you've been asked or that you will be asked in the future. So, Mandy, you're asking, how do I find networking events? That's a good question. It depends a lot about what line of work you are in and who you're trying to be connected to. So for me, I'm in the home building industry, and there's a home building industry association in every major city, major market. And so it's very easy to get involved because there are already activities there that people attend. And I just have to start showing up to a couple, and chances are I'm going to be plugged into the scene a little bit, and there's other industry events that go on that somebody will tell you about. So for example, I just moved to Sacramento for my work, and I went to a networking event for the BIA, and some other people told me, hey, every Wednesday night, a bunch of us in the industry meet over at this bar and grill for a debrief or a production meeting, which is just a joke for skipping out early at work and go having a couple beers and networking with people in the industry casually. You know, we'll probably talk about work, but the intent isn't to talk about work. The intent is to just build friendships. So that's how I get plugged in. If I'm in other industries, maybe I'm selling to consumers, like there's groups called BNI, which is like builders networking something or other, and basically they meet every Monday. The whatever group you're in will have a set day and a set time, but they meet every week at that same time, and you go there with the intent of trading referrals and networking. Those are ways that, like, if you're selling like insurance, homeowners insurance, or maybe you're a hairdresser, those are ways that you can connect with local people. It's a good one for personal trainers. If you do in-person coaching, you go and meet with people local, and you're gonna engage with these people. And those are really fun to go to, because chances are, if you go to enough of those, you're going to start realizing that you have overlapping clientele. Let me give you an example. If I do nails, chances are the people that like getting their nails done also like their hair being done, right? And I might partner up with a hairstylist, because a hairstylist, they don't do nails, but if I go to the hairstylist, I want to look good for something, and I'm going to say, hey, I really need to get my nails done. They can say, oh, I know Joe. Joe does nails. You should go see my friend Joe. And because I already trust my hairdresser, I'm going to trust the recommendation to go see the nail person. So those are good ways. You can also look online for Meetup. There's a website called meetup.com, and you can put in any kind of topic you want to get involved in. So another one I've done recently is I looked up what are real estate events going on in this area, and they populate up, and there's one at this time I could go to. So I went and I checked it out. It wasn't quite the group that I wanted to get plugged into, but they told me about 5 other groups that I could go to, and then I met a couple other people. And so the idea is you start showing up at places that are more likely to have what you need at them, and you take it from there. Example, if I want to get really, really good at golfing, right? I could go to the coffee shop every day this week, and maybe it's a possibility I might meet a golf pro there. It's a possibility I might meet people that are interested in golf at the coffee shop, and they could teach me a little bit about playing golf. But chances are, if I went to the driving range, my opportunity to meet people to talk to me about golf would drastically increase, because I am in a place that's more likely to have the people I want to connect to at it. So you kind of start there. Like, where would the people I want to connect with be at? Another example was, I used to want to get, I still love helping businesses out, but I was like, how can I help out startup companies in the tech space? How can I help be an advisor? Well, I know that they go to pitch contests. I know that they go to incubators. So if I start going to those things, chances are I'm going to meet people that can introduce me to startup owners, founders of tech companies that need help with business coaching, right? So what happens, I go to a couple pitch contests. I go up to the organizers of the event or the judges, and I use my networking skills where I'd say, hey, this is a really cool event that you're participating in. How'd you get started in this? What made you want to help other people? Like, I'm just a curious person that wants to get involved too. Like, what would be the tips you could say, like, to somebody like me who wants to get involved helping other business people, right? I'm helping them solve a problem because they're there contributing to the community, and they're looking for participants to help serve in it too, right? So I'm bringing something to the table that they need help with. I'm asking them questions about how their passions and purpose are around that, and because of that, they're like, hey, let me help you get plugged in. So great areas. Mandy, what line of work are you in, if you're still on? I don't know if you're still there, but anyways, those are ways you can do it. If you just keep showing up, chances are the right ideas will find you. So next time, I want to take screen printing and embroidery company in Dallas. Okay, so I know somebody you should meet in Dallas. His name's Donnie. Donnie and Amanda and I all know each other, but Donnie runs a group called Success Champions, which is kind of a networking group similar to BNI that basically connects people. He's in Dallas. So like that would be a good place to go, because if you're in the screen printing and embroidery business, I should probably clarify like who you do that for, because if you're doing it for large corporate clients and doing like, really big corporate type orders, you might not really care to meet a bunch of people that might need more smaller, like, hey, I need to get t-shirts made up for my gym members, right? That might be a different type of order. But you want to kind of go to the type of where your clients are at. Where would they go? So like, obviously if you're making embroidery and screen printing, people want that done because they're probably doing some sort of promotion of something. I'm going to guess either they got their own brand or they're promoting something related to an idea around their brand. And where would they go to be growing their own businesses? And if you focus on certain niches, that's even better, because if you show up at a networking event where it's a lot like non-exclusive, like everybody's there to network, like a Chamber of Commerce event, There might be 5 other screen printing companies there, but if you're really niche down to like, hey, I really work with people in the construction industry, then you can start showing up at the home builder events. Be like, hey, it's like we do a lot of work with builders, we do a lot of work with subcontractors. We want to help you grow your business, help you keep your crews looking sharp, looking well dressed out in the field, so they look highly professional. I'm going to start supporting the industry that I'm most active in and become a player in that industry. And so because everybody in the industry is like, hey, I'm going to grow my business, they go, well, you got to use Mandy. She's our screen printing company. Everybody around her uses her. She's the best, right? It's going to be a lot easier to compete for new business when you're in blue waters versus shark-infested, bloody waters, where everybody's in a mosh pit trying to knock each other out to get a piece of the pie. Is to find a real niche spot and be active in that industry. And these skills that I'm talking about, networking in person, they translate very, very well to doing it online through like LinkedIn or social media. First and foremost is like you're looking to solve other people's problems. So instead of being, look at me, go, hey, how can I help you? Here are things that I know that can help you. So instead of like, maybe example would be like, hey, look at all these mostly bulk printing. Home builders are one of our favorite companies. Wink, wink. Okay, yeah. So for example, let's say you want to go network with home builders. LinkedIn might be a good one to go onto, because you could go onto LinkedIn and you could search for people in construction and home builders within the areas that you serve and look for those people that have work for those companies. And then chances are there's a person at that company that's more likely to be the point of contact than others, like let's say the marketing manager or the division president. So you can look at them and you can send them the messages, right? And build positive relationships with them. Not like, hey, I sell bulk screen printing. Do you want to buy something from me? No, they're not going to do that. But if you reach out to them and be like, hey, I see you're pretty active in the BIA, the building industry in Dallas. We really want to get plugged in. Like, what's your recommendations to start attending networking events? What are the things we can do to support the industry? What are the things that we can do to help, get a need fulfilled within the industry? Which is right now in construction, be like getting young people into the trades, because there's a shortage of that. So you could say like, hey, I see that we want to give back. We want to help young people out of high school build a successful career, and maybe the trades is an option. How can we support that so that we're involved in the industry? And because you start showing up, they start asking what you're doing, and then they want to give back and support with you. So it's a bit of a long-term strategy, but those are ways you can find the people that you want to get in front of. So it's really looking to serve them first. How can I help you first versus how can you help me? And that tends to work. But it's a process, because it doesn't pay off immediately. It might take some time to get there, but it's going to be more beneficial in the long run, right? You establish that relationship with that one person, maybe takes 9 months to a year, but now you're plugged into the industry. Now when other people come in, it's less like I have to rebuild that level of trust and support it. It's already apparent because they see you there, they know you, that you have a reputation of being involved in the industry, and they have a need, they're going to go to you because they want to give back and support the industry, right? Same reason why you're there, supporting people in the industry and what they're doing. Oh, I see you showing up. You're doing these things. I want to help you do those things, right? So that's it. Homework for everybody is to find somebody in the group you haven't connected with and introduce yourself. And so some of us weren't on the call, and some of us will be getting rando messages and being, hey, I'm in the group with you. Like, what are you up to? That might be kind of weird, but don't worry about it. I guarantee you that if you reach out to somebody and say, hey, I'm in the group with you. What brought you here? What are you trying to accomplish? they're going to respond back with something that you can build a conversation around, and then just ask them like, hey, are you interested in maybe doing a virtual coffee for 20-30 minutes? Doesn't have to be long. We just kind of want to go, who are you? What are you doing? How can I help you? I might know some people you know, right? And chances are they're going to reciprocate. Not everybody does, but over time, more people than not will. And that is stuff I know for a fact. So next time we'll talk a little bit more about moving in through communication, how to start speaking in a way that's more likely to take you to the results you're looking for, which is building positive relationships, building influence, and communicating. And we could talk about that through in person, and we can talk about through messaging you might be creating on social media, which is marketing, which is what this group is about. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye for now. Thank you so much for dropping in on this coffee chat Saturday morning. I know we're all busy. Appreciate it.